Welcome. Today we're diving into one of the oldest and most profound questions we've ever asked ourselves, and we're drawing on some seriously ancient wisdom to do it. The question is this: are your choices really your own, or is your life story already written?
Right, let's get straight into it. At its heart, it's a question we all face. When you succeed, is that all down to your own hard work? Or when you fail, is it just bad luck? Or maybe, just maybe, it wasn't meant to be. Now, this isn't just some philosophical game. How you answer this really shapes your entire outlook on life.
So, to really unpack this, let's start with one of the most powerful arguments from ancient Indian philosophy. It's the idea that a force much, much bigger than any of us is actually the one pulling all the strings. And what is that force? Well, it's time itself.
Yeah, this whole school of thought is called Kalavadi, which basically translates to the doctrine of time. For the people who followed this, Kala isn't just about seconds ticking by on a clock. Not at all. It's this active, all-powerful force, an eternal energy that decides how every single event in the universe is going to play out.
So here's the key takeaway from that point of view. Your own personal effort? Well, it's kind of beside the point. You can struggle and push and work as hard as you can, but if the time isn't right, you just won't succeed. And on the flip side, sometimes success just lands in your lap without you lifting a finger. Why? Because time decided it was your moment.
And I love how mythology is used to really paint a picture here. In the ancient stories, Bali was this powerful king, but he wasn't a god. And yet, for a while, time itself lifted him up to the status of Indra, the king of all gods. But then, just as quickly, when his time was up, he was brought back down. The quote is basically saying it had nothing to do with Bali's good or bad deeds. It was all just the inescapable cycle of time.
Okay, but that's a pretty heavy way to see the world, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't leave a lot of room for us to make a difference. So naturally, there's a powerful counterargument, one that puts the ball right back in our court.
And this just lays out the core conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got time, or fate, as the ultimate boss. And on the other, you have this belief that our results come directly from what we do. You know, one view makes us passengers on a ride, and the other makes us the pilots.
This whole other way of thinking is built around a really cool concept, Purushartha. It's this deep belief in the power and the importance of human action. It basically argues that just sitting around and waiting for fate to hand you something is, well, it's foolish. You have to earn success through deliberate, focused, and continuous effort.
But what's really fascinating here is that this action philosophy isn't naive. It doesn't just pretend that things like timing don't matter. Instead, it sees time as just one of 5 crucial ingredients for success. So yeah, you need your own effort, absolutely. But you also need the right kind of power, you need to be in the right place, you need the right tools, and you need the right time. All 5 have to come together. So that sounds like a perfect recipe for getting things done, right? You've got the 5 key ingredients all working together. But, and this is a huge but, the source material warns us that there's one incredibly powerful force that can poison the entire mixture. It can throw all 5 of those ingredients completely off balance. And this enemy, it comes from within.
I mean, think about it for a second. Let's say you have the perfect plan. You have all the resources you need, the timing is flawless. What could possibly derail you? Well, according to these ancient thinkers, the problem isn't out there in the world, it's inside of us.
And the culprit has a name: Kama. Now, we often translate this word as just desire, but here it means something much more intense. We're talking about unchecked, obsessive craving, lust. And far from being something that motivates you, the text frames it as this toxic, corrupting force, an enemy that undermines everything you're trying to achieve, both in your career and in your character.
It's like a domino effect. When you let that raw, unchecked desire take the driver's seat, everything starts to go wrong. You start hanging out with the wrong people, you start cutting corners in your work, you get sloppy and careless, and pretty soon people stop trusting you. You lose your influence, your reputation. In the end, that desire makes you your own worst enemy.
And to really drive this point home, the ancient texts are full of these dramatic, epic stories that serve as warnings. I mean, these are extreme examples for sure, but they show how even the most powerful people on Earth can be brought down by their own runaway desires. Let's look at a few.
First up, we have the tragic story of King Dandakya. Here's a guy who was a powerful ruler, but one day, totally consumed by lust, he abducted the daughter of a wise man. The curse that followed was so devastating that it supposedly turned his entire thriving kingdom into a barren wasteland. the Dandakaranya forest, wiping him and all his people out. All of that for just one moment of unchecked desire.
And it's not just humans. Even the gods are vulnerable. Indra, the king of the heavens, became obsessed with Ahalya, who was the wife of a great sage. He tricked her, and when the sage found out, he cursed Indra. And the text says that even today, that action has left a permanent stain on his name. He is forever known as Ahalya's paramour. And then, of course, you have the most famous example of all, Ravana, the 10-headed king of Lanka. This guy was brilliant, he was powerful, he was rich, he had literally everything. But his all-consuming obsession with capturing Sita led him into a war that cost him everything: his brothers, his sons, his kingdom, and, in the end, his own life. So we've looked at the argument for fate, the counter-argument for action, and this huge warning about desire. After thinking about all this, what's the final verdict? What's the big lesson we're supposed to take away from this ancient debate?
Well, the ultimate message is actually a really beautiful mix of these ideas. It's not about picking a side, team fate versus team free will. The real challenge, the real path to a good life, is to act with purpose, to apply that conscious human effort, that purushartha, while at the very same time keeping a close watch on that internal enemy, that unchecked craving, or kama. That's the secret sauce.
And let's end on this incredibly sharp insight from the sage Vatsyayana. What he's saying is, even if something good is meant to be, it's not just going to magically appear. You still have to do the work to make it happen. Fate might set the stage for you, but you still have to step up and play your part. Because as he puts it so perfectly, there is no welfare for the inactive. What a timeless, powerful reminder of our responsibility to act.